Hola, buenos días. Soy Nico.
That's a good joke, ain't it? Out my motherfucking face. Ain't shit funny right now. I could tear down a building.
And today we're here for another wonderful week's worth of content. Well, yes, I am back. I had an amazing weekend. I took Friday off. If you did not know, I was actually at the last Latino Oasis where I met not only one of my favorite one of my favorite performers from the golden era of black and brown adult cinematography. His name is Seduction. I got to take a picture with him. He was like, "No, I actually watch your YouTube." I'm like, "We both live in New York City. Can I get this interview?" So I'm going to take my platforms a lot more seriously. I'm going to start doing performer interviews and giving you a deeper look at the industry from in the past to the present. I also met the amazingly beautiful Suki the mermaid, the dancer, the thick man, and he is a lot of man. At the end of the party, I walked up to him because I was trying to go to the next spot, and I said, "I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a fan, but I love you." Not like I didn't tell him that I loved him, but I'm like, "Oh, I've been watching you for years, and your dancing is legendary." He said, "No, I actually watch your YouTube. You don't understand. I'm actually a big fan of yours." And I'm just sitting here like the people that I idolized growing up not only know who I am, but they watch my YouTube. So I'm gonna try to get an interview with him. I'm gonna start interviewing other performers. So if you're interested, definitely let me know. I'm going to try to be flying out. I'm going to, do all the things, or I can just do Zoom if y'all can't do that. So if you're a performer from the past or the present and you want to tell me your experience with the industry, the companies you work for, let me know. Let me know. Point is, Latino Oasis, it was a wonderful time. I'll go deeper into that on Patreon where I'll do a full video of my experience there. It was beautiful. I got to walk in the fashion show. I'll go into detail. But that's not what we're here for. Today, I wanted to have a conversation that's stemming slightly from the Patreon exclusive where I opened up about what was going on in my life, where I basically said, I recently stopped seeing somebody that I was seeing for about 4 months, and I was vulnerable on Twitter. Nico, I know. I was vulnerable on Twitter, and I basically put out, I wish I had never been in love. And that even though I started taking Cialis, which is an assistance for performing, I couldn't have super happy adult fun times encounters this weekend. And there's a longer story about why I got prescribed Cialis. So if you did not know, I recently started taking an antidepressant along with an anxiety medication and medication for my ADD. So I'm taking Prozac, which can affect your arousal. So from what I've learned in this relationship that I was in for 4 months, I can still have super happy adult fun time. It's more so I'm not always in the mood, as in when I'm ready, but I'm not always ready to have super happy adult fun time. Sometimes I'm like, I just want to cuddle. I really just want a warm body next to me. I want to like spend chill time. But I took the Cialis for the first time because this weekend I'm like, I'm newly single. I want to get out there. Maybe I need to get under somebody to get over somebody. I know, terrible logic. I'll explain how that didn't work, and the most awkward thing happened to me that night that I tried to do that. Point is, I was vulnerable on Twitter and I wrote about that. And of course, lots of people were being like supportive and understanding, and I wanted to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about the two performers that apparently have been stalking my social media. Nico, Raypotts and Pablosttrokes apparently have been following me on their burner accounts, and as soon as I tweeted that, they begin to say, "Oh, you're limping, you're worthless, and ha ha ha, you can't hook up with strangers right after you break up with somebody. How could you let a heartache affect your libido?" And I'm just sitting here like, first and foremost, I'm not even gonna address them in like a full video context because I'm sure they're gonna watch this and they want some shine, but I'll just post what I wrote about them and how I ratioed them and I ate them alive. And I wish performers understood. I wish performers understood that me coming online and being cordial and nice and sweet is not a given when you are disrespectful to me, because as you see in these screenshots, I ate them alive. I will always eat you alive. I don't know why you like to poke the bear. No. But yeah, I don't know why it's like people keep trying to play with me when I'm like, every time you come at me, I eat you alive. You have to sit there and look dumb, and then you have to go on about your life and continue stalking me. So the fact that Pablosttrokes is stalking me on his burner account, because after I blocked him, because I'm like, I'm not about to argue with no crackhead, I'm not about to argue with no bitches and witness protection from a fucking politician. I basically said, block, block. And then he immediately commented from his burner. I'm like, girl, you're following me on your burner account when in theory, I don't even think I've ever talked about Pablosttrokes in a negative way. I talked about how he was a side piece one time to that boy in Dallas, but I'm like, outside of that, I don't, even when it comes to like content appreciation, I can at least say I've seen one of Raypotts' videos. I'm not gonna act like I haven't. I've never watched a singular Pablosttrokes video. And that's not shade, I just find nothing about him attractive, especially his personality. It's not a turn on for me. So I don't know why he's so obsessed with me personally, because I don't know much about the boy, but actually I know a lot about him. I know a lot about him, but I haven't said anything about him. But moving on, I'm going to actually be talking about how it's so interesting that in our community, men are required to always be ready and excited to have super happy adult fun time. And when you aren't in the mood, something is seen as wrong with you. I'll talk about my relationship, for example. There are a few times when he would do things like hide information from me and or not be honest about something that would affect my libido, such as, I remember before I decided to end things, because this isn't to be like, oh, I broke up with him, but I broke up with him because I'm like, I feel like you're kind of wasting my time, you're not communicating properly, you're hiding things from me, I'm gonna leave the situation. That's why I was sad about it, because I'm like, I actually like this person. It's just, I know it's not going to be anything beneficial for me going forward, so I had to end it. Because honestly, I think I've told y'all, I've never really been dumped. I usually do the dumping because it gets to a point where I'm like, if it's not a beneficial experience for the both of us, we shouldn't be doing it. Point is, there was times when he would try to get me excited, and I would get excited, and halfway through the moment, I would remember something that he did, and I would go soft. And I would wonder, is this because of my Prozac? Is this because, you know, da-da-da-da-da? But it's just because I was not in the mood. And it's really that simple. Sometimes some people do struggle with like ED, but personally, y'all see my super happy adult fun time films. When I'm in the mood, I'm in the mood. It's just, as I've gotten older and as I've become more relationship oriented, because remember, I only started doing OnlyFans about 2 years ago, I've been selective with who I have super happy adult fun time with. So I don't actually hook up anymore. So when I'm having an intimate moment, it's with someone I actually want to be there with. And sometimes my emotions would stop me from performing. And I remember, I think the last time we tried to, it wasn't working because once again, he had did something that I didn't agree with. And I told him, I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling it tonight. So we went out, we turned up. This will be more on Patreon if you want to get into like that relationship dynamic. But point is, when we got back to the apartment, he was like, oh, I want it. So he got me up and it was up. I was ready. But I remember when we were doing the foreplay, I remember what he did and I went soft. And I actually told him, I want to go home. And I told him I wanted to go home, not because I was embarrassed that, oh, I can't perform. I was more so holding back the emotions that were inside of me that were actively making me not able to perform. Because I remember I made up an excuse as to why I was so stressed out and wanted to leave. But the truth was, I just didn't feel like we were in that position anymore in our dynamic. So it was interesting to me that when I showed vulnerability, basically saying, even when I took, let's say, an assistance such as Cialis, even though I am attracted to this person, I can't do anything with him. So when this weekend, for example, I'll go into detail on Patreon about it and why it was so awkward, but I was essentially in a threesome. Nico, I was essentially in a threesome. And at a certain point, they just began to have the interaction on top of me because I couldn't get up. I had taken the Cialis, but I just was not in the mindset of it because I was still reeling with those emotions and trying to get over what happened literally 2 days before the trip, because I became single 2 days before this trip. So I remember I was laying there with two beautiful men, big hairy butt, abs, sculpted face, just going at it on top of me, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, this is so awkward. So eventually when they changed positions, I like got up and moved around and I actually left the room. But I was wondering what's wrong with me. Like, even with the assistance, I'm not able to do it. But it was just because it's okay to not be in the mood. I feel like, especially within our community, because in society in general, it's always expected that men will always be ready, will always want interaction, will always want to get it on. And if you aren't in the mood, something must be wrong with you, especially in our community, because we are so sex focused. And this is coming from a super happy adult fun time performer. Like I said, I enjoy sexual exploration, I enjoy intimate interactions, and I always tell you, as long as you're getting tested and screening your partners, have as much super happy adult fun time as you want, as long as you have some form of safety measure that you're taking. So it was baffling me that I'm like, this is in theory the perfect moment for me to get over my ex, but I just could not do it because my heart was hurting. Like, I was so sad because I had spent 4 months with this person, basically living with them the last 2 months, and my mindset was not in recreational sex. So when I sat down to think about it, after they tried to like throw it in my face by going, ha ha ha, you can't have a random hookup 2 days after your breakup, which is silly in hindsight, because Raypotts has been in my DMs before crying about how people over-sexualize him and how he regrets joining the super happy adult fun time community because he feels like it derailed his life. Yes, I have the screenshots here. I'm not making this shit up. So the fact that he follows me on his burner account, saw that I tweeted that I was sad, and decided to throw it in my face because I said, after my breakup, I need more time before I can have recreational sex. That confused me, but he's not a completely sane person. Anyways, I realized that in that moment, a lot of gay people genuinely put their worth and their importance in life in whether they are able to have recreational sex. Recreational sex is fun. It is not something that should be frowned upon and or shied away from, but I wish people would understand that as a human being, you have more to offer than just your appendages. You have more to offer than just your orifices. You are a three-dimensional person with feelings, with aspirations, with the capability of love within you. And sex should not be the only thing that you are required to offer to the world to be seen as valuable. So yes, after that, Nico, because I had to go into hiss, and I gave them a good verbal lashing, as I always do and I always will, so don't ever come for me. Once again, point is, I gave them the verbal lashing, and I actually wasn't sad anymore, because after that moment, I was actually mad, because I'm like, how dare you take the one time I come online to be a human being to try to humble me because I'm sad that I ended my relationship. Are you slow? But point is, after that, I went back to the next day of Latino Oasis, which was a pool party, and I ended up meeting other people that were attractive, that I found attractive. And I feel like after I got my mindset off of sadness and into anger and then back into power, everything actually started working again, because I ended up going to an afters party, which was called Magnum, Nico, a super happy adult fun time party. My first time going to one and actually interacting. And I saw this tall, thick, brown-skinned man, curly hair on top, full beard, juicy lips, fat booty, like a thick man. I remember I saw him, I was making small talk, I grabbed him by the chin, said, give me a kiss. Gave him a kiss. After my friend had to leave, he said, hold on, I got a spot for us to go to. Y'all, I gave it to him. Rough, long, and hard. Nico, I know, that's not what you're here for. Point is, it worked. And I was just sitting there like living in the moment thinking, wow, so maybe I don't have an issue. I literally just am not always in the mood. And I'm getting older. You know, at 28, people always tell me when you get into your 30s, you'll have a second wave of puberty and you'll be excited more often. But I've just been so calm recently because I've been in a relationship and I didn't give myself time to process those emotions before I tried to throw myself into a threesome that I just was not able to do it. But after I got my mind out of the relationship, I was actually able to work again. Long story short, I gave you a personal experience and an explanation as to why I had to drag Pablosttrokes and Raypotts. Point is, it is okay to not always be in the mood. It is okay to sometimes say, hey, I just want to cuddle. Hey, I just want to have a conversation. I just want to go out to eat. I don't want to have sex. Because at the end of the day, sex is natural. Sex is healthy. But it is not the only thing you can offer somebody in this world. But with that being said, I want to hear your experiences down below, because when I was opening up about this on Twitter, a lot of people were actually saying, no, I'm glad you're talking about this, because when I broke up with my ex, I physically could not have sex with somebody for months. When I broke up with my ex, I was so sad that I physically could not get up and try to do anything with it. I literally just had to sit there and process it. So if I can normalize these conversations, if I can make people realize you're not broken because you're not always on go. As a man, you do not always have to be ready and willing to have super happy adult fun time. Take it as you want. Do what you want with your body. Same for women, because a lot of people don't know, women are actually secretly horny all the time. It's just society punishes them for exploring their sexuality, but they are also not always in the mood. So it is okay to say, I'm not ready to have sex yet, especially after a breakup. Make sure you take your time to process those emotions and feel them. But with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Boom.